Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Now what we're going to be talking about today is ratchet care. So basically looking after your tools. If you look after the tools, they'll look after you. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to clean this ratchet, re-grease it and put it back together. Now there is kind of a hot topic I've seen online about these. People say you shouldn't do it and other people say you should. Now in my opinion, at the end of the day, there's moving parts in there. There's little gears that rub on little gears, just like an engine. If you don't lubricate it, it's going to wear, it's going to break, it's going to be as simple as that. If there was no oil or anything needed in every of these, they would be a completely sealed unit, you wouldn't be able to touch them. Now I think some of the cheaper ones are sealed, but they're sealed for a different reason. You can buy rebuild kits for these, and the only reason you can buy rebuild kits for these decent sockets is because people don't look after them. This is my opinion anyway. This one is a 3/8 snap-on drive, and what we're going to do is just going to undo everything, clean it, grease it. If you do it, I don't know, it depends how often you use it, but if you do it regularly, you will never need to buy a rebuild kit for your ratchet, and it will last longer and it will be better. Some people say you shouldn't do it because all bits of grit and shit get in. I mean, bits and shit of grit get in anyway, and the grease leaks out, it goes hard, so you know, you have to replace it really. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to strip it and re-grease it. Let's show you how to do it. Alright, so I'm going to crack it open. It's a T9 torque for this particular one. You can also use a little flat bladed screwdriver, but I'm just going to use the torque. Take all this out. You can see all the bits of crap that get caught in it just from working. So just normal wear and tear. Most ratchets are more or less built the same way, they're just different quality inside. The more teeth you get, the smoother it is and stuff like that, and normally is kind of the better quality driver. But the more teeth and less teeth, they kind of do different things as well. So as we can see, I'm taking off the actual main body of it, and you can just see all this old crappy grease that's inside. You know, they just separate the plate from the actual teeth. And it's a good time to check to make sure there's no damage, because if there's any damage on these teeth at all, well then you can just basically forget about it. There's no point really continuing. Then we have the this little gear here, which is basically the on and off or left and right, tighten, loosen little gear. Now these can be a bit tricky to take out. You have to be careful, because what I just did there is I did get it out, but there is a little ball bearing and a little spring. Now you have to be careful of these. You don't lose these. Take that out of the way. And then the last thing we have is the on and off button, or the left and right. So that is essentially all that's in any driver. Nothing really to it, just a couple of bits. But as you can see, they're all just crap, crud, all sorts of crap in it. What I'm going to clean this with, which is the best stuff in the world, brake cleaner. Now brake cleaner cleans everything. It's fantastic. All the oil and absolutely everything. So I'm just going to squirt it. Now, just literally with a quick squirt, you can see just how clean that is. I'm going to give it more of a squirt, wipe it with a rag, and then we're ready. Right, so as you can see, that's lovely and clean in there now. I'm just going to give all these a going over with the brake cleaner. There's no point in filming because I'm just cleaning it. Once I've got them all clean, we'll turn the camera back. Right, we're good to go. A couple of things you might need, which I did forget to mention. It's handy to have like a little brush. It's just to give everything kind of a good little rub. And there's a thing I want to show you with this right at the end, because people forget to do it, and I think it's quite important. But anyway, oh yeah, and there was a little seal there I forgot to mention as well, so there's a little seal that goes inside here. But once you've got everything clean, as you can see, everything's clean, all the old grease is off it, we're just putting it back together. I've got some multi-purpose grease. Make sure you don't use copper grease. If you use copper grease, well, it's not going to last long, your ratchet. Then all you're going to do is put a little bit on your finger or whatever, and just, you don't need to absolutely put grease everywhere. You do need to get it in on everything, make sure everything is nicely greased. Not too much, but not, make sure you do put enough on it at the same time. Put the spring back down. Now this is the hardest part, getting the spring and the little ball and the before I do that, I just want to put down the actual on and off switch first, so that just goes down. Now it's important to note that your on and off switch isn't completely round. As you can see, there's a flat edge on one side of it, and that lines up with the flat edge on the on and off button, or the on and off switch, or the gear, should I say, the on and off gear. And as you can see from this side, it's completely round, so it'll only fit one way, so you can't really go wrong, which is good. So now we've done that, I'm going to put the spring in. Try and do this without getting in the way. This is the hardest thing, these little balls. So just get the ball in as much grease as you can. This is tricky because I need to get that ball on top of that spring, and then it rests on one of these edges depending on if the ratchet's screwing a bolt on or screwing a bolt off. So this might take a while. This is the hardest part. So first thing I'm going to do is cover this gear in grease. So I'm going to put the spring of the ball on top of the spring. Now this is where, as you can see, the ball is now on top of the spring. I have to get this down and keep all that flat, do everything at the same time. So hopefully I can do this without getting in the way. So push that. Now this is the problem, because if this springs out and the ball goes, you're never going to find it and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So I need to just, oh, the actual on off button is now, I got it in, but the ball hopped out, so I have to do that again. Pushing the spring and the ball down and lining everything up. You can just kind of feel it, and there we go. Everything is now in, so it just takes a bit of a feel, but you do get it. Now what we need to do is put the rest on. We need to grease up the actual main gear itself, and again it's just simple enough greasing up. Get it in there. You can always take it off, so don't be worried about maybe putting too much on at the time, because you can always be wiped off. Now we need to line this up with the actual gear, the other gear. This can take, well, that actually went in fairly easy. That can take just a bit of a twist. Try and do it without my hands in there. That can take just a bit of a twist to push down, just to line up with the actual gears, but that went down fairly handy, which was good. So next thing I want to do is grease up the plate. So again, plenty of grease. Oh, don't do that. Well, that's actually another good thing. As you can see, I've laid down paper, clean paper, because if I was to drop that like I just did, and it was to go in all on the floor and anything, you'd have to clean it. So clean paper is another good, or a clean rag or something like that, and then just push that rubber back down. Make sure it's seated properly, it's not going to get caught anywhere. That rubber is completely down. Bang that on top of the ratchet, squeeze it down. Now this is another kind of controversial point. When you're using any ratchet a lot, vibrations, you're using it, you chuck it on the floor, it falls on the floor, you're ratcheting it, whatever, vibrations are going to be happening to it. And these screws do work the way loose. And if the screws are loose, what happens is you can cause more wear on your ratchet, because the bits are moving inside, or they're angling up, and then you're not getting the proper tolerances between everything, and you can wear them out a hell of a lot quicker. So what I like to do is put and I mean a tiny bit, so I'll actually put it on the paper first, to get a tiny bit of thread lock. You just need to put a little bit on, you're not doing a lot. I've just got a tiny bit there. I'm going to wipe most of that off and put it in. Same with this one, so just put a tiny bit on, wipe the excess off and put it in. Now we can actually screw these back home. Give them a nice tight, but do be careful because they will break or strip the threads. Now, this is kind of what I think people forget doing. This is kind of important. You do now not clean this with any, don't put the brake cleaner around that or anything, because the brake cleaner will get inside and it'll just basically destroy all the grease. So just wipe it with a rag. The best thing to do is get it as clean as you possibly can with a rag. Now what I maybe should have done first is I should have told you what it sounded like first before I actually did this. A couple of things you need to do is make sure it switches to on and off, or left and right, open and close, however you want to say it. This one does switch between. Next thing you want to make sure it's actually going the right way. So if I switch it the other way, it should go the other way, which it does, and it locks, so that's a good thing. You want to check all that. But as you can, well, I don't know if you can hear, but that's really nice action. It is a snap-on, so you would expect it to be nice. But that's really nice action. There's no play. There was a bit of play here before. There is no play now. It's all packed up full of nicely of grease. Now, the one thing I'm going to do which people forget, and the reason people think it's maybe not a particularly good idea, is once you've put all the cleaner in this, you've actually wiped out all the cleaning fluid, all the grease inside the little ball, where the little button is on top, is to release the actual socket. And what I mean by that is, as you clip a socket on, the little ball there helps the socket, and it stops the socket from falling off. And when you press the button, the socket comes off. As you can see, it's locked on, press the button, it comes off. Now, we've just cleaned all this and put brake clean oil into it. We've literally ripped out all the oil and crap in there. Well, not crap, all the good stuff. So what I like to do is just soak it in WD. Now, all I've done is there's a little hole at the top, and I've just put a little bit of WD for you, and I allow that to work its way in. Just clean up the excess. To work its way in and do its magic, and you will actually, yeah, that feels a lot better now, but you can see that poking through. Just work it through, push the ball in, make sure the ball's all nice. It's not going to get anything in. You can actually see kind of the crap coming out of it even as I do that, which is good. You want to get as much out of it as you can. Replace it with new stuff. And there we have it. One ratchet, which I don't know if you can hear, sounds lovely. Goes the other way. Absolutely perfect. So that's it. One ratchet done, and it's the same with all ratchets more or less. The bigger they are, they just have bigger components in, but that's it. So that's how you grease it. I can promise you here and now, if you do that once every 6 months, once every year, depending on how much you use it, you will never have a problem with your ratchet. I guarantee it. Unless you try and, you know, use this ratchet and put a big bar on it and then break it. But in a normal use, and on a decent quality ratchet, you won't have a problem. So look, hope it helps. Thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.